everyone, and welcome to Two Player Quest. Today we're going to be reviewing Skytear Horde by Skytear Games. Skytear is a lane-based battler which allows 1 or 2 players to battle the Horde. You build your deck beforehand, and then you use that to fight the Horde. Let's get into it. Skytear plays with 1 to 3 players. If you play with 3 players though, the 3rd player will be playing the Horde. It plays in about 30 minutes. Complexity-wise it's at a 2.62 on BoardGameGeek, meaning it's a reasonably easy game, and it is a medium luck kind of game. This is what a setup of a game can look like. Now, in the base game, you do not get the mat. The mats we bought separately. What you do get is these 2 pieces of cardboard, which you then lay down together to make the track there. But for the purpose of this video, it was easier to show you with the mat. I'll quickly walk you through this setup. Here we have deck number 1 for player number 1. We have the chosen portal. We have the minions on either side. There we have the Horde deck. Because we're playing with the Brood, we also have the Brood deck and the monster we are fighting, plus all the tokens. There we have our castle, and then here we have the other player's deck. Now, this game plays in a few phases. You get handy cheat sheets here, so that people know what they're doing. We start off with the Horde phase, in which you gain mana. I have done this, that's where we have 3 mana, as stated on the gate. Then you summon cards from the Horde deck. So we would summon this card and place it in the leftmost lane. After that, we will turn the portal. So next time we would gain 2 Horde cards. Next is the Alliance phase, when the players play their actions. The left player decides to play this card, which gains these abilities. It costs 2 mana, so we pay 2 mana. Then the right player decides to play these 2. And one last card is played by the right player. Now, you have several options to do in the Alliance phase besides playing cards. You could also exhaust them to get the minions out from the side. This will prevent you from discarding cards later on in the turn. So, we exhaust this card to take one of the minions. This is what the players decide to do. Next comes the Treachery phase. You take a card from the Horde deck, and then you apply the bonus stated. So in this case, that would be a sword on the an extra attack on the right-hand monster. This is also when you can play the abilities with a lightning bolt. Next comes the fight phase. You start at the leftmost lane. In this case, the upper monster does 2 damage to the lower monster, and the lower monster does 2 damage to the upper monster. The lower monster at the moment has 3 hit points, and the upper monster has 2, meaning the upper monster dies, and we take the hit points off the lower monster. And then you continue this on until all the monster battles have done from left to right. This is what the board looks like after the fight phase. Then comes the pillage phase. In the pillage phase, the minions that did not join the fight and still have tokens on them, such as these 2 on the right, for every token they have on them, every player discards that amount of cards. So in this case, they would discard 2 cards from their decks. For every monster killed, a player draws a card. Then you go to the end phase, in which you remove temporary tokens, ready the exhausted cards you have, discard up down to 7 cards, so any player can only have 7 cards in their hands, and then you start a new turn by going back to the Horde phase and gaining new mana. Still 3. And that's what a turn of Skytear looks like. In Skytear, you keep going until the outsider is defeated. At that point, the players win the game. If one of the players at any point would not be able to discard cards when they would need to, or unable to gain cards when they need to, the players lose. Skytear is quite an easy game to learn. Give it 10 minutes if you're not used to lane-based battlers, and less if you are used to lane-based battlers and you know how the system works. In that case, the only thing you really have to sort of discuss and learn is new keywords, or exactly the little tweaks that are different. I would suggest Skytear to people who like Magic the Gathering and something like Keyforge, but would like to try a co-op version, or would like to try to convince someone else to play these games and see if they like it, but start with a co-op version. I would also suggest it to those people if they want a different theme and basically just some variety. Skytear is an interesting game. We bought it because my husband loves things like Magic the Gathering and Keyforge, and we wanted to see if I could enjoy that as well in a co-op game, because we have tried these things before, but my husband's extremely lucky in games, so I would draw terrible cards and he would draw very good cards, so he'd beat me into the ground. But in a co-op game, that's different. One of the things that makes this game so fun for those who like it is the deck building part of the game. So making your deck beforehand, tweaking it between battles to make the perfect deck. But that's not something I enjoy doing. So this just isn't the game for me. But if you do enjoy the deck building part of, for example, Magic, and you want to share that with someone, and you want to do it together, then this is a very good game. We haven't played this game with more than 2 players. In this game, if you play with 3, one player will be playing the Horde, and the other 2 players will be playing the Heroes, and that's not a dynamic we thought was very interesting to us. So we haven't tried it. And that brings us to the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching our review of Skytear Horde. If you have any comments, feedback, or suggestions, put them in the comments below, and I look forward to seeing you next time on 2 Player Quest.